dance. It is UD Sadrid. She's done research focused on physical education, comparative studies in sports, sport policy, sport management, gender, culture, and literature. She's on the editorial board of various academic journals and current editor of the Latin American Journal of Sport Management. She has more than 70 referee papers, 18 books, 10 proceedings books, and 50 chapters in books. She has participated in conferences and presentations in all 5 continents. In 2007, she received the highest research award given by the Venezuelan Council of Universities, as well as the scientific awards given by the Aragon State and the University of Research Legacy. She has been the Director of Research and Graduate Studies at UPL Maracay, State Sport Director, 2009 to 11. In a previous gymnastic career, she was a member of the Venezuelan national team, later coach, international judge, and administrator. At the sport level, she received various distinctions. Internationally, she received in 2006 the gold medal of the honor given by the International Council of Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance. That's a ICHPA. In 2013, a member of honor of World Association for Sport Management, invited professor at the Universidad Autónoma de Nuevo León, Mexico, West Virginia University, and various national universities in Venezuela. She is currently advisor of the Ministry of Education for the national training programs for teachers in service in the areas of English as foreign language and physical education. Reviewer of the Quality of Physical Education Project by UNESCO. Some of her responsibilities have been, she is the president of the International Association of Physical Education Sport for Girls and Women, IPASCOE, from 2013 to 2021. Treasurer of the WASA, World Association Sport Management, 2016 to 2021. Vice President of the International Society for Comparative Studies in Physical Education Sport, 2008 to 2021. A chair, XP chair of ICSP from 2008 to 12. Editorial board member, 2008 to 16. Founder President, Latin America Sport Management Association. Former Secretary of the Latin American Association for Socio-Cultural Studies. I think you have such a huge biodata. And where she is, I think you'll rarely find a personality like Professor Rosa. And I got in touch with Rosa because of a chapter which you could write, a well-renowned person. I think she should have been a politician, I always say, because you can pull and get things done. And it's because of you, Rosa, that we could make it a real international program at the P level. On behalf of the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India, Khelo India, a warm welcome to our most dignified speaker, Professor Rosa. It's very rare to see a national gymnast, administrator, writer, and a great human being. So once again, a warm welcome to you. I also would like to welcome our Olympian and our Olympic star, Fatima from Morocco, the first woman who represented for the Olympics. Fatima, indeed, it's a great honor for us. So with your valuable presence. So warm welcome to you. We also have—
Thank you so much.
Alessandro D. Amico from Venezuela. A warm welcome to our young and admiring speaker of tomorrow's session. A warm welcome to you. I'd like to welcome Dr. J. Kishore sir, who's a great administrator, I say a fitness freak. And I think there are multi things which are together into one. A warm welcome to our principal, Dr. J. Kishore sir. I'd like to welcome all my dear PE teachers from across the country who is here eagerly waiting for the session. Once again, a warm welcome to one and all. Over to you, Professor Rosa, for your session. Please.
Thank you very much for your kind words. It's a pleasure now to share my presentation. I also want to welcome Maria Dino, who I just read in the chat box that she joined. So I will start sharing my presentation, okay? Can you see the presentation?
No. We could. Yes, yes.
Just let me know. Now?
Yes.
Okay.
Slideshow. It's there, slideshows. It's yes.
Okay, great. So, well, I hope you enjoyed this presentation. My name it's Rosa Lopez de D'Amico from the International Association of Physical Education and Sport for Girls and Women, IPASCOE. And the research center is Studies in Physical Education, Health, Sport, Recreation, and Dance. The name of my university is very long. It's a teachers training university, okay, in Maracay City, Venezuela. So this is the structure of my presentation. And I was requested by Dr. Usha to speak a little bit about physical education in Venezuela as well, besides speaking about sport, women, and physical education. So I will do the other way around. I will start with Venezuela first, then to the organization and various issues related with sport and women, okay, and gender in general. And if we have time, at the end, we have 2 short videos. So this is where I come from. Maybe for you, this is the first time you are listening someone from this country, or by the first time you ever see where it's located. So it is in the south of North America, or sorry, it is in the south, in the north of South America, okay? Sorry for my mistake. And it has a population where you can read 30 million. I am placed, Maracay is placed here, in the north. And here you have the Caribbean Sea. So that's what I said, we are in the north of South America. So we speak Spanish and various indigenous.
No son, no video.
No issues. No, I think there's some problem with the network. And very soon you'll find Rosa joining. There's a slight network connectivity issue. In the meantime, we'll share one of the videos that we have. So, which Rosa has showed, we'll prefer to. Yes, it's come. It is us. We'll share one of the videos.
Called dramatic. If we want to play against men, we're nuts. And if we dream of equal opportunity, delusional. When we stand for something, we're unhinged.
It's super. He's going to need to calm down.
When we're too good, there's something wrong with us. And if we get angry, we're hysterical or rational or just being crazy. But a woman running a marathon was crazy.
Officials tried to pull her off the course.
A woman boxing was crazy. A woman dunking? Crazy. Coaching an NBA team? Crazy. A woman competing in a hijab, changing her sport, landing a double cork 1080, or winning 23 Grand Slams, having a baby, and then coming back for more? Crazy, 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 and crazy. So if they want to call you crazy, fine. Show them what crazy can do.
Who's this coming? Okay, well, we'd like to share the second video, which,
Yes, yes.
yeah.
I'm trying to click on and
Yeah, she's trying to get in.
it's like,
How I know there's a technical issue coming in. She's trying to join.
Из чего же, из чего же, из чего же сделаны наши девчонки? Ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла. Из цветочков, из звоночков, из переглядок и мармеладок сделаны наши девчонки. Из железа, из стремлений, из самоотдачи, из сражений сделаны наши девчонки. Из упорства, из красы, которой гордится вся нация, сделаны наши девчонки. Из синяков и тумаков, из отваги сжатых кулаков, из независимости и мастерства, из страсти и сердца и достоинства, из воли крепче Кремля, из силы и огня, из свободы от чужих мнений, из свершений и достижений сделаны наши девчонки. Can we play the presentation? Take time to reach. Now, I know whether you can read. I'll just read out the story for you, which she had put it across. So, in a basketball court next to a football field. I don't think you can see this. This story. I just read it out. On one occasion, while there was a football match, I could observe that in a closed basketball court, 10 boys around 10 to 12 years age came around. They were very happy and excited. They went into the court, and in the middle of their merriment, they organized a match and play happily for about 10 minutes. Suddenly, everybody was silent, no more cheering. Everybody stayed quiet. The coach arrived and everything changed. The coach from outside the court screamed an order. 10 laps around the court, and the boys resignedly started to jog and complete the 10 laps. The following order was, okay, now 2 columns, 20 dribbling and lay up to the right and 20 with your left. When they completed 5, they were all bored. They finished this activity. Some asked for permission to drink water, which was denied. The activity continued. Now in each backboard, 1-on-1 until 1 shots. 4 were dribbling and 6 were not. Then they switched after 20 minutes. The activity was over and they started with 3 shots. 2 columns in free throw lines, and the coach said, let's go 50 points. 5 children in front of each basket theoretically had to shoot 10 times each one. No corrections were made. While the children doing the exercise, the coach preferred to watch the football match, in which the screams of the coaches could be heard. But kid, I told you to mark number 10. Don't shoot because you have no leg. The boy was watching his legs and grumbling his frustration. Now don't wait, they will steal it from you. I knew it, you are really silly, dumb fool. Don't be a sucker, come on. And you are pretty bad. We lost because of you. Suddenly the basketball coach turned towards the court and told the boys, practice is over, see you next time, bye. The boys who had arrived so cheerful to the basketball court and played so cheerfully without any pressure during 10 minutes suffered the poor management of an inexperienced and unpunctual coach. They left the court frustrated, and some turned around and expressed, I won't come here anymore, me neither. They went there to have fun and they left frustrated. The example is eloquent and it constitutes an indicator of reality about sport promotion. One of the link of chain was not good, the coach, but he had no supervision either. The promoter or any other structure that could help to control the development of the activity, parents, community council leader, NGO, etc. So in such a way, we will never have a better society. We cannot promote our sport practice with kids in the same way the NBA does, because our kids simply just want to be on the basketball court to have fun, or in any case with different purpose than the NBA players who are professionals. This is by Professor Ciro D. Amico, and it was in the year 2003. This is what Rosa wanted to express, and she's been desperately trying to join, and the only problem has been she's unable to get into the, to be in the panel. So this problem has come in. And maybe if you can look at the screen, I'd share the screen with you where she has indicated the Venezuela, where it is. These are the topics which Rosa was intending to cover. And maybe this picture will give a great picture of the population that they have when we compare with India, and the area very clearly reveals about the population with 30 million, and the area, language, political distribution. So I think it's very important to know. The education system in Venezuela. Sure. Yes, you could do that. Okay. Rosa is coming. Okay. Yes, Rosa, we'll share the screen for you. For the second, it is from 4 to 6 year old. I'm muted, I think. I'm muted. Unmuted. And the primary, you can see there, is from, for the period is 1 to 3, and it's from 4 to 6. For the secondary, for high school and technical education is 5 years and 6 years, and then followed with the university level. This is the education system that they have at Venezuela. In consideration for quality education, there's more than 7 million people who's participated. And since 2013, it has transformed the education system. It is led by the Ministry of Education. and they have moved on to quality education. In consideration for quality education, in 2014, they had a working group and a focus group. There was a national consultation, and this was with 23 states and the capital district, which included the whole educational community, and where they found that it was with the parents, teachers, and students, which was also for the private and public schools. And then there was a curricular transformation which took place, so that it could bring about a quality education, which also resulted in quality physical education. I think it's very important to understand for us, with the new education policy, we also are going to have in a transformation where we would move to quality education and in turn quality physical education too. Now here they had 10 flags for the quality education. The transformation which resulted was, one was the quality education should be for boys and girls, and it will also develop a pedagogy of love, starting by examples and curiosity, because one of the most important thing they found was, when you do something under compulsion, it doesn't work. It's only the education would come in once they would start loving to learn, and with a curiosity, the education would be more meaningful. The third flag was the position of teachers as responsible for quality education, the strength and position of teachers. Fourth flag was promote a school atmosphere characterized by community learning. I think there are certain lessons which you could always take in from here, and guarantee a system of student protection was in these cases of flags. So I hope it's very clear in terms of the pedagogy, which is very important and crucial for us, and also in terms of involving the community, and it becomes more valid with this community P program, and also guaranteeing a protection of students' protection. Create a close relationship between school, family, and community. If we would like to bring about a change also in physical education, this can do wonders, because community P is looking forward to this. And that is why we do have these international sessions, because we pick up things which could be of benefit to us. And those teachers who are P teachers and coaches who are attending the session, we should be able to integrate and take these concepts to that particular level. Develop a national syllabus that is integrated and updated. Guarantee friendly, safe, and simple school facilities. Develop an evaluation system for quality education, and reconfigure structure and functions of the Ministry of Education. This was with regard to the education. Further, even physical education comes under the Ministry of Education. The important information of P was, in the past, it used to be 90 minutes weekly, that is one session in primary and secondary school. For high school, it is 45 minutes per week. In 2011, 3 sessions per week was established in the National Sport Physical Activity and Physical Education Law. And this law was approved in 2011. Hope it is, now it's very clear to you. There's a law in 2011, they had passed a law in which it was mandated to have these 3 sessions per week. A pilot study was done during the school years between 2015 and 16. It was reviewed in 2016-17, and the final schedule was approved in 2017 and 18, which is 6 hours per week. I think it's time we also need to pass certain laws. It's required for us. Now, the secondary schools, if you look at the school, when they have, because we talk of the primary section, secondary, for them in the secondary, look at the languages that they have. Look at the P classes, hours being spent in a per week. You look at the language, and also when you talk of the physical education, you can look at it. You'll find it's almost 6
hours. So I think it's a good move and a law which has been enacted, whereby participation, physical activity, or having a love for physical education also tends to increase. It's time in India we to start with such concepts.
No. 1 minute. 1 minute. I will check.
Okay, yes, perfect. I really don't know what happened. It's so,
And I'm
it
sorry,
says,
I had to take over.
no, you were doing perfect, perfect,
It's a
actually. So,
Ganesh, share the screen.
no, how do we proceed? You continue where you were because you were explaining already the
You could
education.
You could start, please. Can you
Yes,
see the screen?
yes, yes, I can see it. So, well, thank you very much. We don't know what I understand, but that's what happens. Sorry, this is technology. So let's keep going. So as you can see, there is this move to have more hours for physical education. At least this is the policy. And you can see the distribution between the subjects and also what is called normally everywhere after school. So this is the down part with the after school activities, in which there is extra time for either recreation, science, etc., or sport for those students who are very good in sport. Next slide, please. So with this, we were very pleased with the after hours, after school activities, but let's make it clear, they belong to the same curriculum system. It's not that the parents have to pay for after school activity, it is within the school, but let's say if they start in the morning, in the afternoon. Because what normally had happened, and it has been the tradition, is that we have the school games, and normally the PE teacher was taking the hours for physical education to practice sport and be prepared for the sport games, which was a problem because they were forgetting the physical education class, and those students who were not good in sport were limited. With this after hour school, then it becomes much better because we can really separate what it means, the physical education class, or anyone who's interested just dedicating to sport, they can do it later. And why, you might ask, why in secondary level? Why not in primary? Because in this national consultation that took place, it came out that the most vulnerable group was teenagers. They were the ones who were weaker, not weaker, I would say we were having more problems in terms of their behavior. So that's why this curriculum reform started at secondary level. Okay, next slide, please. So as you can see, and in here you have some images of how it was perceived. I mean, the physical education class, you saw some images before, and now thinking and changing the philosophy of physical education. So a physical education for the development and maintenance
Physical education is biological.
Okay, again, I got disconnected. So I'm not sure if I cannot see the slides.
It's fine, Rosa.
Okay. So the recreation that it's the relationship between family, school, and community. So it's just the school, it's part of the community, not to look at it as separate entities. Educational sport, we didn't want to look at sport per se, because then it was the same concept that was traditionally taken, like kids just practicing sport, but it's by educational. So we wanted the teachers to think about not just looking at the experts, at those who have talent. And then we have the systematic practice of physical education in order to create a culture of prevention, maintenance of health, and moreover, a culture of peace for life, okay? Peaceful living. Next slide, please. So, I mean, these four components were indeed very important in order to change the philosophy of physical education we were working with. But of course, we know that that can be done if the teachers are convinced, because if they're not convinced about that, no change will happen. So here's this program that was created in 2015 in order to train teachers nationwide. What teachers or who were those? We were training teachers in service, okay? And particularly because we had in the school system some teachers working with physical education, but they were not really trained as physical education teachers. I mean, they had another degree. And particularly at primary level, we have generalist teacher working with physical education. And in here, physical education at primary level should be taught according to the law by the physical education teacher. So this program created by the Ministry of Education had the idea of go nationwide, which indeed it was managed. And the program increased so much between 2015 and to 2018 that the national government decided to create another university, and this university to train teachers, okay? So now it's offering programs for undergraduate and graduate level, okay? Next slide. So you might say, didn't you have training universities where you were training teachers? Yes, we did. I come from one of those, but it was not enough, okay? So general comments. To have physical education and to have increased the number of hours in the curriculum, it's really, really a very positive change. And it has not an easy way to go. It has taken long time, long discussions, particularly with our partners from other subjects, to understand that in physical education, we do more than jumping. I mean, we do many other things. We combine different areas to perceive and to observe physical education as a holistic program, which can taught different areas. Now, policy still is far ahead than practice. We still don't have all the schools with this number of hours because we need more teachers, and obviously because changes doesn't happen out of a sudden. It takes quite a while. We have at the same time the same problem that is in many places of the world, that physical education is looked down, in spite of the fact that in the policy it has the same status, the same respect, but still is looked down. More actions are needed in terms of social level so that physical education is perceived by society in general as important as mathematics, as physics, and as the other subjects. And of course, I think more publication and research, we need to conduct that, but to publish that in a language that is understood by people in general, so we can help to change this mentality, okay? So now this is what I have presented about Venezuela. Now I go to the second slide in which I'm going to speak about IAPESCABE, the International Association of Physical Education and Sport. So please change slide. So we can continue. You have already seen there the web page of Japsave, and in the next slide, you can observe that it is an organization that was created since 1949. And in the actual board, you have the representative from the board, but we always have a world representation in which it is compulsory at least to have one member from one continent. I mean, in some continents might have more, but it will depend on the election, but we always have one. So in here, you have Fatima, who is member of the board, and Maria Dino we were also partners in the board 4 years ago, okay? Next slide, please. And you have known, you have already met some of them in their presentation. We run quadrennial Congress, and we have never stopped the quadrennial Congress. And next one, it was supposed to be in Japan, but because of the Olympic Games, where the dates were changed to 2021, and it is exactly the same dates that the IOC decided. So of course, Japan indicated they cannot host the Congress, and China accepted the challenge. We'll see. You know that all international organizations are right now in this situation that we are moving our Congress, the dates. So we'll see what happened. Okay, next slide. It is expected to take place in September, okay, in Tianjin Sports University. The aims of Japsave basically is to connect people all over and promote physical education, physical activity, and sport for girls and women. And we speak about inclusion, and inclusion, it means all, and of course to promote leadership development throughout the world. Next slide. Of course, it doesn't mean that it is just a women's organization. There are men and women who are part of this organization. Please, next slide. As you can see, there are many activities we have been working with. There are several pictures there of the activity Japsave gets involved. You have a picture down there of the first batch of the courses that we have been doing with India, which is our first contact, indeed, strong contact of Japsave with India. And we also have images there of several events in which Japsave has participated. We can have next slide, please. In different continents in the world. These pictures are from the last, I would say, few years, okay? And this is just an example of collaborative work that we do, for example, in publication. This is a research that was conducted with IFAPA, ISPES, and FIEP. Next slide, please. So our main purpose is to encourage in various ways, okay? So we work with publications like the ones you can see in there from well-known people. We have worked in particular areas. The first one, Muslim women in sport. The other one was related with women and sport in Latin America. And there are more coming. And in the bottom right, in your right, these books are available in our webpage. You can download it free. I mean, this is a view of women and sport in different continents. And on the top is it's a book that was published about the history, the continuity of the history of Japsave. Next slide, please. So we continue. Now I go into women and sport and physical education. So you can pass, don't worry, you can pass the slides. Just leave it 1 minute to each. I am able to speak, so I don't need to repeat. Next slide, okay? So in here, you can see these historical moments in which actions related that have impact gender issues in the world are indeed very important, and it's established in the literature. The United Nations in 1995, they have this Congress, and it was launched, the Beijing platform. So in this Congress on Women in Beijing, it became so important for the women's empowerment that then every 5 years, it has been conducted to do the follow-up of the Beijing Action Plan. And we all know that in the year 2000, the objective of the millenniums had as a goal women's empowerment, and we all work with that until 2015. As the goals were not achieved, then the United Nations decided to have the Millennium Development Goals, that is also called the Agenda 2030, okay? And in there, gender, it's again present, which is indeed very important, okay? So next slide. And I said this on purpose because I know countries, and there are many projects that are on gender aspects because it is in there. In here, it will be just a brief review comment for you to be aware of the impact or some documents that has been presented worldwide related with the women's empowerment. And of course, 1948 is the most relevant one because it's the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And there are other elements you can see, like in 1968, it was the first time a female athlete lighted the Olympic culture, which is, you know, again, an icon. You can go to the next slide, please. So you can, in here, you have movements, actions, declaration from different organizations worldwide in sport, for example, like Women's Sport International that was created in 1994, as well as IWG, the International Working Group for Women and Sport in 1995. So these organizations have supported and promoted to continue pushing for women's empowerment, women's right to practice physical education and sport. Next slide, please. As I said, there are many activities, but particularly when you see it chronologically, it has increased in the last 20 years. The International Chapter of Physical Education and Physical Activity and Sport. How does it start? And I would add the audience, I mean, could just write in there in your chat box that MINEPS, normally, we know about the UN or the World Health Organization, which is WHO, but when we are asked what's MINEPS, normally we don't know. And we, the ones who work in physical education and sports, should know, because very important policies and the trend comes from MINEPS, okay? So this is the Minister and Senior Official responsible for physical education and sport. And in there you have the chronology of all the World Conference that have taken place. And from there is a document that you can find it in the UNESCO webpage, where there has the trend, you can see the trend they have indicated for physical education and sport. Please continue. So this international chapter comes from there, okay? So don't forget that. In the next, in this slide, you can see that it was in 1978, and normally we use this document a lot, that it was just International Chapter of Physical Education and Sport. It suffered changes, and later it was changed in 2015 with an inclusion of an important word, which is physical activity. And in the past, it wasn't there. Now it is clearly established. And there are two more elements in there. It's girls and women is included, and gender equality and empowerment is also included in that document. So don't forget, keep that in mind. Next slide, please. So you can see it's like how little by little, all the movement that have taken place and the policies and research have impact this is for you briefly to observe how ICSPED, International Council for Sports Science and Physical Education, who have done collaborative work with MINEPS, CJEPS, has also produced several declarations in terms of physical education, and of course that have impact gender issues. Next slide, please. So in this one, you can have a follow-up, okay, of what has happened with this concept related with quality physical education, okay? So what are the elements that have impact on the policy guides? So, and I have to say that the role of ICSPED and several international organizations, and we as Japsave as well, have also supported to make this possible. It's very important, if you're not familiar with these guidelines for policymakers and guidelines for methodology, how to reach quality physical education, it will be very important that you can have it there. Here you have the image of how it looks like, okay? Continue. Because, I mean, it's right now the way, the tendency, how should we look when working with transformation, with reform, with syllabus reform of physical education, to look at quality physical education. So in the next slide, then you can also observe how it has changed what we believe about physical education and sport for girls and women. And even though there are countries that have changed and in their policies, it is indicated, what happens in reality is that still it has an impact everyone. And it might be in the written policy, but it is not in practice. Next slide, please. So, but again, I would say that one of the most important elements, and keep that in mind, is that we have the policy in place, okay? So, because if we don't have a policy in place, then it's very difficult. And in here, I mean, these slides that are here is not what I'm indicating. I just want to make sure that this is what UNESCO have indicated about quality physical education, okay? And if all of those particular governments who are looking to indicate that they are working based on UNESCO tendency and UNESCO's guidelines, here look at what it says, empowers girls, okay? Next slide. So keep that in mind. This is a short version, the image that looks at those key elements, because quality physical education doesn't mean to have the biggest sports scenario and facilities. No, it's really, UNESCO wants you to have a look at particular elements, okay? And these are the ones. Please, next one. So, just for you to highlight, because I want you to make clear for policymakers, what does it mean, quality physical education, and you have here the elements: inclusion, gender issue, quality assurance, curriculum flexibility, community partnership, professional training, and development of supportive aspects in physical education, okay? So there we go to MINEXIP, the last one, and what is called the CAS and Action Plan, okay? So you can see in here the three main aspects to work with. But from the CAS and Action Plan, in the next slide, I want you to be aware that there is one element which is indeed very particular. In this CAS and Action Plan, there are 5 particular points. And these ones, we have to look at all of them, but one in particular is insists on gender issues, okay? So, which one of those gender issues and one of the mandates, or I would say suggestion in this one, is to have a global observatory, okay? I don't know whether you are still, you are already in the next slide, because I cannot see it. But in that slide, then when we speak about the Global Observatory, there is a story behind that. In the Kazan Action, in the MINEPS group, in the conference that took place in Greece, that I make reference in one of the slides before, it was suggested to have a global observatory. But unfortunately, it was not achieved, okay? It was not. And in 2017, again, and it's so important, I think it has been the push of several organizations. I would say, I have to mention IWG, WSI, IAPESCABE, and of course, IXPE has always been there pushing to make this idea of global observatory be there. So, and now the Switzerland government last year decided that it will have, and at this moment, since last year and this year, there are groups working, providing information to suggestions of how to do and how to work with the this global observatory. We are still in the process, and we hope that by next year there will be more information. In the last CJEPS meeting, there were information about that. Now, next slide. So what is it all about again? And it's gender equity. So it's to treat in a fair way both males and female without any discrimination. So it means justice and fairness. It means providing the same to each one. For example, financial awards or media representation, which is indeed very poor. Next slide. So that's what we refer by gender equity. So it's not talking about one being better than the other, is to be fair. Just because we are all run by the International Charter of Physical Education, Physical Activity, and Sport. And physical education is a human right, is free and universal, is entitled without discrimination, and it also understands the contribution of physical education to the human development, well-being, and health, and of course, education. Next slide, please. So don't forget and keep this in mind, okay? Because this has been agreed by all the nations, okay? So global diversity, yes, we do have. And with the video that you saw at the beginning, yes, we are diverse. And this is what the world is about, okay? Next slide. And of course, men and women, there's diversity. But in terms, and that's what I show, that's why that video in particular, to see how different we are, but how engaged we can be. And evidence indicates that discrimination is against women in sport. And in here you can see it under representation in decision-making position, in the media, harassment, social constraints, dress codes, and unequal rewards. And the links that are in there, you can keep going. I mean, and go to the next slide, but all this, the slides, in some of them you have reference at the bottom. So once you have a look at them, you can check each one if you want to go deeper into the topic. So there is a tendency to stereotype women, like, for example, if 20% lower than men in management position, there's a tendency to stereotype. Critical low number of women judges and coaches, underreporting women sport in the media, and that provokes that people know less about what women achieved, okay? Next slide. And of course, there are limited opportunities for women to communicate their achievements. And some people said, well, it happens just in my country. No, it's worldwide, okay? And that's why I said all women faces a struggle in sport, physical education, and physical activity. It might be different in some places, but research indicates that it's not perfect in any. Next one, okay? So no matter what, and that's what I showed in the picture, indigenous women, parents, mothers, etc. So minorities, who's a minority? So like, for example, maybe here, I mean, in this group that is in here, we are minority, majority are people from India, but it depends on where we're based, because in depending on the condition, the environment, you might become a minority. So you have to be aware of that. So sometimes this kid who's not a talent one, in sport, then he or she might become a minority if the teacher, if the PE teacher just emphasizes sport for competition and talent identification. Next one, which we all know that that's not what physical education is all about, okay? So in here, I would just ask please to continue not so slow with, because these are just example of discrimination for various reasons. And this quotation is very important. This is a very well-known scholar in sport management, Sheila and Doherty. And just for you all to be aware that when we discriminate people, we're making a damage to the organization. Because if that person, the discrimination is because he or she is a minority, maybe he or she is representing the majority out there, outside the organization. So be aware of that, okay? Next slide. We have to, sometimes, even without even acknowledging, we might be damaging an organization because we just don't work with everybody. In here, this image went all over, related with the case when the Iranian women's football team was banned for playing because of their dress code. And we all know what happened afterward with all the push that was done. But this saying that said everything depends on the eyes of the beholder, okay? But even though we have to remember that respect is necessary. We might see things different, but it doesn't mean that you have the right, or I am the one who have the truth on my hand, okay? It depends. There are different views, and the quotation down there is from an Islamic feminist. So there are different views to different story, and that's what it means, be aware of cultural differences. Next slide, please. The other one, it's a situation that is coming now. In the last year has been well known, and it is related with cases of hyperandrogenism. And of course, all the organizations have still been struggling of how positioning their views in terms of the topic. And I would recommend this paper, which is really good in terms of understanding the whole situation, okay? Next slide, please. So for you, these were examples to have a look of all the different sort of discrimination women and women athletes have been facing. So here, this is an example of statements that organizations, women organizations have done in order to avoid discrimination and mistreatment to women athletes. And there are other statements that has been there. And when I said, the acronyms on the top, IWG, International Working Group of Women in Sport, WSI, Women's Sport International, IAPESCABE, WSF, Women's Sport Foundation in the United States, which is really strong, Athletics Canada, many organizations have, in all this year, been producing statements, okay? Next slide, please. So to bring awareness, because sometimes organizations, they do it and they don't even acknowledge they have some rules and some policies that are discriminatory. So the example is here, we all know about the Olympic Games, so how it started with 0 and then 45% in 2016, and then you see the other ones. Now, I just want you to be aware that this relates to female athletes, okay? We are not talking in here about all the women who are part of the sport world, okay? But just female athletes, okay? Next slide. So of course, starting from that perspective, it has been challenging for women in sport to change their perspective, okay? And the following slides show examples of how in the literature, even though if you track to 2003 to 2020, you still perceive the same problems are present. And even though we have done better in general terms, but still we are not in a stage in which we can be satisfied and indicate that things have improved for women in sport in general. And I have to say that normally when I speak about this topic, and I use lots of reference, as you have seen in my previous slides, because sometimes in some cultures, it seems that it's just, why do you need to speak about that? Or you are just creating about that. It's not true. And that's why I insist on people reviewing the reference and checking that it's not because it's coming out of my mind or just a women's group. It's something that researchers all over are indicating. Next slide, please, about the situation of boys and girls. I mean, less participation in general. And the previous slide was 2018. This one is 2003 from these scholars, well known. And I think this is the first one in which publication in which there was an example from representations from different continents. And what you can see in here, the low level of women in decision-making position, 2003, was indicated already that is still going on. Next slide, please. So other examples indicate what we have said. And just here, look at what is involved. The leadership in sport is an exclusive club of men. Again, researchers indicating, and this is recent, more recent than 2003. Continue in the next slide, please. So, and I did the work to look for values from different regions, and researchers from different regions agree in the same aspect, related with women's participated less in physical activity, in physical education, and physical sport. And of course, women in decision-making position is, as you can see, this is the most recent one, 2020, 2019 publications. So it is an alarm. We have to think about it. We have to act and react, okay? Let's slide. Because once the indicators are there, I mean, it's referring to something that happens. And this quotation is very particular. And I won't read that all, you can read it, but I just want to highlight what these women footballers from Chile indicate. It is easier for women to become a nation's president than to be president of a football federation. And this is a country that has had a woman twice president, okay? Next slide, please. So again, different realities, different countries, but the problem is the same, okay? So this is an interesting data. This is again UN 2020. So they indicate that the numbers are positive, but they also acknowledge that it's not enough, okay, for women's equality movement. And this, just for you, maybe you can visit and check, which is the Sport for Generation Equality Framework. And this initiative, which I think is very good because we are also catching the attention of the UN like more frequently, and I would say, and particularly in this year. Next slide, please. This year during the pandemic times, there has been interesting announcement. Okay, so of course we cannot leave. We have to refer to COVID-19 because this is the world reality. So it has affected whole society, yes, and sport, of course, as well. Okay, so from a single child who doesn't even know that the Olympic Games exist to the Olympic Games. Okay, so there you go. Here we have that domestic violence has increased in the world. UN is indicated that Women's sports organizations have done a strong effort and declarations because there is this fear that when the pandemic is over, then how it will affect budgets, programs that were implemented that took so long to make organizations participate in that, to make organizations approve them. So now the cuts where they will come from, okay? And there is this publication, which I suggest you to read, published by UN, which is COVID-19, Women, Girls, and Sport, Build Back Better. So there are 5 elements in there important to follow up: leadership, gender-based violence, economic opportunities, media, and girls' participation in sport. You can go to the next one. And I have to say, if we can manage the media to pay much more attention to women and sport, then I think we can achieve the other ones easier, okay? So final comments. The IOC and the Sport Federation, they have acknowledged the importance of women contribution, and some changes has started, okay? We have seen some organizations to increase the number of women, the need for more PE teachers, coaches, judges, referees, female journalists, and leadership positions. More women are needed in there. And you would ask as well, why? Because if parents go to an organization and they don't see, they have a girl and they might not see any man, any woman there, and just men in the organization, he or she might hesitate to leave the child there, okay? So important of more academic research and publications in all corners of the world, it's important. Now, and this is of course a message to researchers, we have to speak in 2 languages. Sometimes the academic world is too elevated. That literature goes to a specific group, but we also need to target society in general, okay? So next slide, please. We need to incorporate more girls and boys to physical education classes and understand that it is important for their holistic development. Policies are in place, but people need to know that they exist, because otherwise you cannot empower people to ask for those policies, okay? So as I always said, there was a push to have more parliament representation, women at parliament level. So if that has been done, we can do that as well, and sport, okay? So QPE, it's important to understand that it is a holistic concept that can help the development of society, okay? Because it's not just working about physical activity, it's not just addressing that, it's also addressing other elements and values for human understanding, okay? So the other element, and it is my opinion, we cannot just be satisfied by indicator like women in leadership position. We need women in all roles of sport, okay? Because that has been a discourse in the last 20 years. We need to push much more, okay? So the changes have taken place, and you can see that in 1948, it was the Declaration of Human Rights. Compare 1948 and what I'm saying today, and that still kids might not have a right to go to a physical education class. Now compare with technology. Maybe your iPhone, your telephone, did you have one in 1948? Do you have one now? So what does it mean? And who's producing the technology? The same human being. So we have the power to make the changes, okay? And the other element, I don't think we can be just satisfied by indicating, oh, there has been a change in one place. We need to have these changes of equity and equality all over, in all countries. So it's not enough to say it is happening there, because it will impact the life of everybody, exactly as it happened with COVID-19. When people didn't care, I mean, it was happening in one part of the world that it won't affect us. It does. And the same situation with equity and equality, with gender issue, it does affect the life of us all, okay? Continue. So the next slide, please. We don't need to go into the continue, and I want continue with the others because you already read this story, and so I will just make comments. Those are 3 slides. Continue, please, because this was written by someone who has a heart as a coach, and this is product of our observations, okay, coach. So, and I think it very highlights what we have to look at as coaches, but also as member of society, okay? Next slide, please. And because sometimes when we are coaching, we don't see how we sometimes communicate with the kids, okay? And language, it's important. So I do believe that much can be gained if we join efforts. And in spite of the word that of the fact that I don't know how to say thank you in all your languages, I just learned Danjavat. Maybe I mispronounce it. So, but thank you very much. And here I have them written in your language. Thank you very much. Okay, it has been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Rosa. Indeed, it was really wonderful. Even technology did not do any damage as such. It went on smooth. It was really so informative. And before we come in, can you just make it bigger? Professor Mari,
I have to.
Yeah. Yes, Rosa.
Yes, I have to say that. Well, I really don't know what happened with technology. But we managed. And I have to congratulate. I think Uri is somewhere there because he sent a message. So yes, Uri is in the audience. So technology didn't help. I have to confess that it was very stressful. And this is the first time because I was able to listen to you, but then the Zoom took me out so many times. But I always, have this idea of, by some reason, I sent yesterday those 2 videos that those were to the end to finish the presentation, because I find that those videos have a strong message, and it's so important. I will leave it. I mean, Usha has them, so if you can share with them, that's fine. And the short story.
We shared the videos with them already. Do you want me to share it again? We already shared both the videos when you were trying to get in. So we were trying to find out what would happen.
Thank you. And the story is a free translation, okay? It was published originally in Spanish. So I did that just yesterday, free quick translation, because I do believe that sometimes we as coaches, I was a coach many, many years ago, and sometimes we don't notice what we are saying to the kids, the message we are delivering. So it's just to be aware about that, okay? So if that's it, Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you so much, Rosa. You made it. And that shows you're a leader, because however you went in, you brought in, and with a big bang, you came back and proved that you're the president of Ipascaway. That's right, you proved it. Thank you so much. Professor Maria, for your remarks, please. There are questions later, at least 1 or 2 questions I take up, but Professor Maria, for you.
Yes, hello. Thank you, Rosa, for your contribution. As always, it is very eloquently and outreaching. And my comment is just because you mentioned a lot of documents, a lot of organizations, and it is important that we have these organizations, but it also depends on the person itself. So the personal contact is very fruitful, and I'm really thankful that we know each other, and that through this we can have our messages spread globally. And I think hopefully you continue in doing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Rosa. There's just one question at least we could take up was the girls are reluctant in getting into physical activity. This one, like, because since it's gender, So in a country like India, especially in you talk of the rural areas, how do we get the girls where they're reluctant to get into physical activity, motivate them and make them active? So what could you just say about that?
You know, it varies in all cultures, and it sometimes you cannot give the same recipe from one to the other. But what I do believe is that we need to engage parents. We need to incorporate them. So it's if we see the school not as a separate entity, but the school as part of a community, so we can incorporate parents to be in the community and allow them also to participate in activities. What activities? You need to ask them, not the activities I believe I would do. If it is my culture, I will do, for example, Zumba. And I know I will have the mothers there, but this is my culture, okay? It varies in other culture. So you need to find out what is attractive to them, what is the best time for them, so we can start doing community work. I do believe we need to do that work at the grass level, okay? On the other hand, nowadays, there are lots of means in which we can communicate. For example, postcard, Instagram, in which we can have successful stories, okay? Now, perhaps we might indicate, we know the top level athletes and we already know this story. Now, do we know the community story? Do we know those women from the community who are doing fantastic work? Perhaps not. And sometimes we have not been so pushy to go into that level. So changes won't come so soon if we go from top down. I think we need to start from the grassroots level in order to make it possible, okay? So, and I know that teachers, I mean, we are the drivers, we are movers, we can make it happen. And sometimes when people ask me about education and physical education and they look it down, and I would say, listen, we might not build a house quickly, we might not cure an illness as medical doctor do, but we can change people's life, okay? But to change someone's life and to impact on that, you need to start by, first of all, talking, touching, providing, embracing, okay? Having that chance to speak. And physical education provides that space. So, but this is what we normally say. And what happens? We have examples that sometimes we as physical education teachers have rejected kids because we are looking.
Is there a problem with the connections? Rosa, can you hear me? Hi, Fatima.
Yes.
So in the meantime, Rosa gets in. So your remarks, please.
Okay. I would like, thank you, Dr. Usha. I would like to give my congratulations to Dr. Rosa for her presentations. Historically, it was very, very interesting, and my congratulations for the actions the they are making in Venezuela to give more importance to practice physical education for in the beginning of the ages. It's very, very important. And also, I would like to congratulate her for giving us more not giving, but it insists more and more for importance of change. People don't like change, but we must be stay more optimist for the future, because we say from 1896 the percentage of women is increasing just now in 1990, and we have the organization of physical education for girls and women from his institutionalization did more actions to sensibilize people over the world to include more girls, more women in the field of physical activity, physical education, and sport. It was a very, very important presentations, and the problems are in every countries over the world are the same. Thank you, Dr. Rosa, and thank you for India to give us these opportunities to share our experiences with many teachers, many experts over the world.
Thank you, Fatima, because you're speaking a foreign
Thank
language.
you, Fatima.
I understand that. So Fatima, it was still, you asked me to speak in another language, but you made it really great. Thank you so much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're eagerly waiting for a president of IXP. And thank you for so much for showing up and being a part of this. So let's hear you for your remarks, please. I know even they came at the end. For your remarks, please.
First, let me say that I don't know what would I do if I would not communicate with Rosa. She's the only one to help me to get online. So Rosa for being that so helpful. Because I sent you, Dr. Usha, an email and sent some others notes because I was late, so I was punished for that. So I'm sorry. Anyhow, to make the long story short, we heard today one of the leading motivational speaker for the case of women in sport. I think Rosa is so knowledgeable and so experienced. No one can tell her what is the situation in the world, not to mention her own country, of course. And I think that by being the president of IPASCAWE and an executive member of IXPE, she actually deliver the main theme forward, and she's a fighter. She wants to see a change. And she's not just talking about what she wants to see, but she's providing how countries, how organizations can bring about the change. And I would like to agree with her that sometimes it's from top down. If governments will not legislate more laws to ensure equal opportunities for girls to be members of boards, of organizations, of teams, then it will not happen, unfortunately. And of course, she's so right that it all starts from the parents at home, how we educate our girls, how we support them, how we back them, how we hope to lead them to become athletes and physically active in the community. So I think we had today the opportunity to listen to a wonderful holistic approach. And for me personally, I think Rosa explained very, very well what is physical, quality physical education all about. And I personally really took some parts of what she presented for myself, because I think it gave us a very clear picture of what we mean when we say quality physical education. And I have one realistic and optimistic message. In the coming Olympics that were supposed to be held in 2020 in Tokyo and were postponed for this summer, for next summer, hopefully in Tokyo, it is projected that 50% of the participants, athletes, are going to be women for the first time ever. So there are some advancement, there are some moves forward, but there's still a long way to go. If we look backwards, we can say a lot has been done. If we look to the future, there's a lot to do. So thank you, Rosa, for your outstanding presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Yuri, because you're a person who really motivates and a real leader. I think we should have like you, because you're also a fighter. To get in, you give us space. You give women space. Thank you so much, Yuri. I'm happy that you at least came in, and we were eager looking forward to you. Dr. Kishore sir, Hari, can you call Kishore sir? And for the information of the participants, Rosa was indeed a national gymnast, and it was so great, a great fight. I keep telling her you should get into the ministerial position, because you are a fighter to get things done. You have enacted laws. So I was thinking, why not you came with a law in 2011. So I just wanted a clarification. What could we do something in the country to bring about a law where we need to increase hours of PE for the school children, at least at the primary level, to bring about an increase? That was a great thing which you brought in a law for.
Okay, I have to say that, as I mentioned, changes, I mean, they don't take out of a sudden. It's a process. Okay, so it is true that in 2009, it was able to make it written into the policy that there should be at least physical education 3 times per week. That was in 2009. But that means budget, more PE teachers, more schools. That also brings other changes. And of course, but we need movers and shakers and people to make it happen. And of course, you know, the physical education community was aware of that, and it always keep on pushing to have much more and much more. So the changes in there, and thank you, Fatima, for mentioning that. It's because, I mean, there has been a community pushing behind, and still it's, I mean, we have a long way to go, but it's a step, and I think it's important. About what Maria said, thank you, Maria, for bringing that as well, in terms of the women's group, and I know Maria is a leader as well, particularly in inclusion of women with disability. And it is quite true that we have several organizations, and sometimes there might be people might be confused. I think what it's important is that you find out at least someone who supports and who can continue pushing and having this whole picture. And about Uri, thank you very much for your kind words. And that was very nice, very kind of you. I do believe, and again, changes, it won't come just from women. We need everybody from society, of course. And that means also people at all levels. We need the top down, and perhaps because it is in the declaration and we keep on reminding politicians, policymakers, listen, you signed that, you agree with the Sustainable Development Goals, you agree with the Cancer Action Plan, so we need to keep on reminding them that it is. So, and we have to bring them, sometimes they might not see that book of the policymakers and QPE, they might have no idea of Cancer Action Plan, because they might have signed it, but they forgot, there's lots of things. We need to be reminding them about that. And the other element, which I think is positive, it is true that that's the goal. That's the goal, to have more women, and we expect that female athletes, I mean, to achieve that. Now, as I said, I will push to make it not just for athletes, for everybody, for coaches, for judges, for leaders. Why so? Because we know that there are more chances provided there. If you mention to a federation, if you have 50-50%, I mean equal, in your team, then you will get a better budget. They will make their biggest effort. So as Uri said, we need those policies. Yes, they are important to be there. We need to enforce that. And communication is so important, because sometimes we believe that because I am this side of the world or the other side of the world, I mean, the problem is in here. No, we all have similar problems, okay? And we need to keep moving forward to make a better world. And the pandemic is an example. At first, people thought it just happened in that side of the world, particularly from my side. We won't care. It won't come here. And it did happen. So that's what I said. It is not enough to indicate and be satisfied because there are changes in some places, and to push for much more. We, and all the ones here, we are international leaders. I mean, in maybe more in one side or the other, we can make the difference, okay? And you, Dr. Usha and Dr. G. Kishore, you are doing your part by providing this platform, not just to India, but to many people who are willing to go into it and to have access to that. So this is a sign of change, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Rosa. Dr. Kishore, sir, for your remarks, please.
Thank you, Dr. And Professor Rosa, for the excellent session. And you have, in fact, having so much of experience of different parts of the world and dealing with the Apex global body, whatever the session deliberations have definitely will enable us and how exactly policy decisions to be taken. And the insight you have got in the systems prevailing in the most of the countries, and also with your experience with which suggestions which you have given on India, will definitely of much help to us. We would like to have a inner circle of interacting with the senior people like you, Dr. Yuri, Dr. Rosa, and Professor Maria, and all. So we will have work it out, because you have got a lot of experience on these matters, especially on the policy matters. And of course, this would have definitely enlightened the participants too on the role which they need to play. So I think we will take our discussions into a different forum based on the inputs given by you one of these days, and we have already planned. So we, Dr. Usha will be speaking to you on those. We are going to have 2 date session exclusively earmarked for a webinar type thing, where our entire top administration consisting of the secretary, everyone will be coming. So that we are trying to plan, and Dr. Usha will be informing you those details. But I am thankful, and I'm placed on record my gratitude for Professor Rosa Lopez Piamico for all the trouble has been taken, because interruption made in between. We thought that but even then we could get back to the normal and see that it is successfully done. So thank you so much, Madam Thomas, Dr. Rosa, and all distinguished panelists, Dr. Yuri, and Maria, and also Fatima. So everyone, thank you so much, and over to Dr. Shah.
Thank you so much, Kishore, sir. So once again, Dr. Professor Rosa, I think it was indeed, many of the things were new to us. We don't learn all these in physical education. And it is very important to document it and bring it so that our physical education teachers knows what's happening in terms of the world. And there were a lot of terminologies which was important. And thank you so much for reminding us, opening the doors in terms of what PE is like. And that's what our international platform has done. So on behalf of the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, a big thank you and hats off to you. I need to thank God because you came back. I was just waiting. You came back, and I said, when you come, there's an aura. There's something which is going around. It's so refreshing, and it's a leader which spreads, something, and we can feel it here. So thank you so much, Rosa, for this wonderful, informative session, because you have put everything into us, and then the ball has started rolling in, and I'm sure it will reach a particular place. So once again, on behalf of everybody present here, a big thank you and namaste for this wonderful, informative session. And I'm sure there are many women who are listening to this, and we're going to make a better world and a better place because you have said you don't emphasize only onto women, but in general for everybody. And definitely your message is taken, and we would be change makers. And the SPE program has been a change maker, and we would prove to the government that we can make a difference. Thank you so much, Professor Rosa. I'd like
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have to say, sorry for interrupting you, but it was indeed a historic one, as Fatima said, because, I mean, things happen that never happened to me before, and we continue. And I also have to, congratulate my co-presenters, Dr. Usha and Pranesh, because they were excellent by Pranesh with the videos that I have sent. So thank you very much to you both. So in total, there were 3 presenters today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rosa. And
Namaste.
Namaste, Maria. Indeed. We look forward to a session with practical.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Because your movement looks so gracious. I've seen some of the videos. It's lovely, and it should be a learning. I think we'll have a separate workshop for dance. Thank you so much, Professor Maria, the Vice President of Experience around here throughout for the session. And your presence has been a great blessing for us. Thank you so much, Dr. Maria. I'd like to thank Olympian. I always say Olympics because it's very rare to see an Olympian with a great administration and a teacher. It's very rare to see. So you're an exceptional, and in women, she presents that. So thank you so much, Fatima, because I always say, the first Olympian from Morocco, so it's a brand. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Program.
Thank you.
Special. And you speak in a foreign language, I understand that. Thank you so much. And I thank Professor Yuri, because you are almost a part of us. We keep waiting every day. Come on, where is Yuri? But you made it a point even at the end to come in and be a part, because when you're not there, we find there's something incomplete, including our darling. We find something is missing. So without you, our P program is incomplete. Thank you so much, because your session and your tips have been very informative, and you always strike at a particular point, which is very, very important. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. I missed a Maria presentation. Did I?
No.
Yes, you had a meeting yesterday. We had Nigel Green.
No, Maria is presenting on Friday.
On Friday, yeah.
Oh, Friday. Then.
Yeah.
I need to thank, So Dr. Yuri, we hope we'll be getting the president, the XP and the Pascoway all with us, because you are going to make our P program really very, I think a real international one, making it more meaningful. I'd like to thank our principal, Dr. J. Kishore sir, because I know with a lot of things, it's not just in terms of principle, but there's a lot of administrative tasks, and a person who not made the sort of fitness, so many things into the head, it's very difficult to multitasking person. So thank you so much, sir. But because you have to keep attending meetings, taking 2 sessions, but you would make it not to miss any of these international speaker sessions. So he would be listening to that, and is very keen in introducing whatever is possible within the Indian community. Thank you so much, sir, for giving us free hand and allowing us this platform to make it really global. I'd like to thank all my dear PE teachers. I know in the morning you had almost 2 hours of session, again evening 2 hours of session sitting throughout, but I'm sure we are going to be the change makers, because it's not you, it's we. It's we as PE teachers are going to prove out to the government that we can do. And I think in a year's time, we should bring about a change in whatever is being said. Let's be together and let our dreams come true. I'd like to thank Mr. Pranesh, and I'd like to thank Harihar for the technical support that you have given. Both of you, thank you so much. And once again, at the end, thank you one and all.